Look around any dog park today, and you'll see more mixed breeds than a genetic scientist's fever dream. But how did we go from wolves to whatever this fluffy tornado is supposed to be? Today, we're diving into the wild, wacky, and sometimes questionable world of dog hybridization. Spoiler alert, humans have been playing genetic matchmaker for thousands of years. And yes, we're going to talk about that time ancient people thought tiny dogs could guide souls to the afterlife. Because apparently this little guy was once considered a spiritual GPS system. So buckle up, because we're about to take a journey through thousands of years of humans saying, you know what this dog needs? More dog. I'm your host, and today we're exploring how dogs went from being wolves with commitment issues to designer accessories with names like Schnoodle. Our story begins a long time ago when some brave wolves looked at early humans and thought, you know what? These bipedal weirdos have food scraps. I'm in. This was the beginning of the greatest partnership in history, and I'm including Batman and Robin in that comparison. All modern dogs descended from an extinct wolf population, which explains why your Pomeranian still thinks it can take on a mailman. Early humans quickly realized they could shape these dogs through selective breeding, which was basically the Stone Age version of playing God. They bred for hunting, herding, and guarding, creating the first specialized dogs who were probably way better at their jobs than most of us are at ours. The Saluki, one of the oldest breeds, was bred for speed and stamina. Border Collies were developed for intelligence and agility, which is why they're smarter than most college graduates. And Mastiffs were bred to be large and powerful because sometimes you need a dog that doubles as a small horse. This wasn't hybridization in the modern sense, but it was humans saying, I like this trait, let's make more of it. Little did they know they were starting a trend that would eventually give us dogs named after kitchen appliances. Before the 19th century, dogs were categorized by function rather than breed, which was way more practical than today's system. Crossbreeding was common and practical. Take the lurcher, created in the 14th century for hunting, or the bull-and-terrier crosses, bred for fighting and catching vermin, because apparently medieval entertainment was just, what if we made everything violent? The English pointer was developed by crossing foxhounds with old Spanish pointers, proving that international relationships can work. Sled dogs are a classic example of purposeful hybridization, where European dogs were crossed with Native American dogs. This created powerful freighting animals like the Mackenzie River husky, who could probably pull your car out of a ditch. In the 1980s, the Eurohound and Greyster were developed for short-distance sled racing by crossing German short-hair pointers with Alaskan huskies and greyhounds, respectively. Because when you need to go fast on snow, you don't mess around with half measures. For centuries, crossing different types was just good sense, like mixing peanut butter and chocolate. Nobody was worried about pedigrees or breed standards. They just wanted dogs that could do the job. And honestly, those dogs were probably happier for it. Then came the Victorian era, when humans decided that function was overrated and appearance was everything. The 1870s saw the establishment of kennel clubs because apparently dogs needed their own country clubs. The English Kennel Club was founded in 1873. Creating strict breed standards and pedigrees. This led to breeding within closed gene pools to maintain specific traits, sometimes at the expense of health. Because who needs functional breathing when you have the perfect nose shape? Right? Suddenly dogs were being judged on how well they matched an arbitrary standard, rather than how well they could do their jobs. It was like judging athletes based on their haircuts instead of their performance. This obsession with purebred dogs created a system where genetic diversity took a backseat to aesthetic perfection. Gene pools became more like gene puddles, and not the fun kind you splash in. The result was dogs, with beautiful coats and breathing problems, perfect posture, and hip dysplasia. Looking at you, pugs. We love you, but evolution is crying. The Victorian era basically turned dog breeding from practical engineering into aesthetic sculpture. But don't worry, the 20th century was about to make things even more complicated because humans can never leave well enough alone, especially when it comes to dogs. Enter the late 20th century, when someone looked at purebred dogs and said, you know what these need? More syllables in their names. The poodle became the MVP of designer dog breeding, thanks to its low-shedding, hypoallergenic coat. The Labradoodle, created in the 1980s, is often called the first designer dog. It was designed to be a guide dog for someone with allergies, which is actually pretty thoughtful. But then, things got out of hand faster than a golden doodle chasing a tennis ball. The golden doodle combined the golden retriever's friendliness with the poodle's coat. Soon we had schnoodles, Yorkie poos, and Saint Berdoodles, because apparently no breed was safe from the poodle treatment. The poodle became the Swiss Army knife of dog breeding, compatible with everything. These designer dogs started selling for thousands of dollars despite being technically mutts with marketing degrees. Because nothing says premium pet like a portmanteau name and a 4-digit price tag. Meanwhile, shelter mutts with the same genetic diversity were still looking for homes at a fraction of the cost. Proponents argued that designer dogs had hybrid vigor, potentially reducing genetic problems. Opponents pointed out that there's no guarantee of inheriting desired traits or improved health. It's basically a genetic lottery where you pay premium prices for a scratch-off ticket. Some designer dogs are amazing, others are just expensive reminders that genetics doesn't follow marketing plans. But hey, if you're happy with your Bernedoodle, who are we to judge? Just remember, you're paying boutique prices for what nature's been doing for free since the beginning of time. Now let's talk about the Chihuahua, whose history is more epic than most Hollywood movies. The Chihuahua descends from the Techichi, kept by the Toltec people as early as the 9th century CE. Depictions of these dogs appear on artifacts dating to around 300 BCE. The Techichi was larger and sturdier than modern Chihuahuas, but still small enough to be a lapdog. When the Aztecs conquered the Toltecs in the 12th century, they adopted the Techichi and made them even smaller. Because apparently, the Aztecs believed that good things come in very, very small packages. For the Toltec and Aztec cultures, these dogs weren't just pets, they were spiritual GPS systems. They believed Techichis could see into the afterlife and guide deceased owners' souls through the underworld, or Mictlan, the Aztec god Xolotl, associated with lightning and death, was depicted with a dog's head. Dogs were often sacrificed and buried with their owners, which is both touching and slightly concerning. They were also used for healing, believed to draw pain from human bodies like living heating pads. Honestly, anyone who's owned a Chihuahua knows they do generate an impressive amount of heat for their size. Historical accounts also note they were raised as food for religious ceremonies and feasts. Modern Chihuahuas would like you to know they find this information deeply offensive. With the Spanish arrival in the 16th century, Techichi populations declined dramatically. Some survived as wild or semi-wild animals in remote rural areas, basically becoming tiny wolves again. In the mid-19th century, American tourists rediscovered these tiny dogs in the Mexican state of Chihuahua. They brought them back to the United States, where they quickly gained popularity. The breed was formally recognized by the American Kennel Club in 1904. The long-haired variety was developed by crossing the short-coated Chihuahuas with breeds like Papillons or Pomeranians. Today, Chihuahuas are one of the most popular toy breeds, valued for their feisty personality and compact size. Their role has shifted from spiritual guide to fashion accessory, which is quite the career change. But they still maintain that ancient attitude that says, I may be small, but I have the soul of a wolf. And honestly, their confidence is both admirable and slightly delusional. So there you have it, the wild journey from wolves to designer dogs, with names that sound like coffee drinks. From ancient spiritual guides to Victorian fashion statements to modern genetic experiments, dogs have been our partners in this crazy adventure. Whether your dog is a purebred with papers or a mutt with personality, they're all part of this incredible story. The history of dog hybridization shows us that humans have always been obsessed with making the perfect dog. Plot twist: they were already perfect. Thanks for joining me on this journey through canine history, and remember to give your dog an extra treat tonight. They've earned it after putting up with thousands of years of human genetic meddling. Don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating pet history.